LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama, then we going out to Florida. Drown the Gators, everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This the LSU anthem, you know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl, you know how we roll now. Back and back it on up, hey. 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 Way down in the back.
TA, we are live. Zach, I'm just noticing something. Maybe it's a typo, maybe it's not, but it says LSU versus Tennessee series recap.
Oh yeah, I'll have to fix that.
Okay. I was just making sure. I was just making sure. I was like, they probably don't want to really care about it. To hear about a Tennessee recap after these last two games with South Carolina. So,
yeah, we'll get that fixed.
All right, guys. Happy Easter. It is a wonderful time. Zach, my most favorite holiday is Easter for multiple reasons. Obviously, because of our tradition, just because it's amazing. Just because it's an amazing tradition of our families. I won't go too much detail about that because we're on a little bit of a time crunch tonight. But I love doing just because, Zach. Looking forward to doing that this Easter. And, of course, most of all, celebrating the resurrected Savior, Jesus Christ, most importantly. And first and foremost in our lives is Christ. And, indeed, we believe he is risen. And this weekend we celebrate what he did, what he accomplished at the cross, and what he accomplished in his resurrection, bearing our sins on the cross in his body, taking the penalty that we also rightfully deserved. When all of us have failed, all of us have sinned, all of us have fallen short, Christ did not. And he took the penalty for our sin. And he rose in victory on Sunday. Today may be Friday, but Zach, Sunday is coming. So we're obviously remembering the resurrected Savior this weekend. Jesus Christ, and of course I needed to point that out. I would be wrong not to. So happy Easter.
Correcting all of the Tennessee instead of
okay.
Sorry, y'all. It was in a rush. I just got back from work and we had to get everything together.
All good.
We're here.
So Zach, it's been a wild series so far. Good. We got a lot of things to discuss pertaining the series with South Carolina. We'll get a little preview in for hopefully tomorrow, a game that we can get in. Forecast doesn't look too great, doesn't look too promising, but we'll discuss it nonetheless because that is going to be the rubber match. And some basketball news. Pieces are already moving, Zach. Pieces are moving away. Some pieces are moving in. Obviously, we know that Matt McMahon needs to do some work in terms of the basketball roster, get some talent in, get some competitive guys in, get some guys who can do what they need to do so we can actually compete in the SEC. And we'll discuss what we've seen already. All right, Zach. This series, man. I've been meaning to say this on the show, Zach, and I have not said it. I've failed to say it, but I have been meaning to say it. This series worried me more than the Arkansas and the Tennessee series. Okay. I have been worried about this series, watching how South Carolina has played, the fact that we have to go to South Carolina. I have been worried about it, and the worries have been backed up with the way this series has gone so far. And man, Zach, for a while there, it felt like when it rains, it pours, right? It felt like,
literally and metaphorically.
And physically.
Literally and figuratively.
Like everything. And so, man, to snatch today's win was awesome. But we'll do a little detail, Zach, analysis on it so we can break it down. Zach, what are your thoughts on Thursday night's game? Obviously just a I mean, just a crappy game that looked like it was going to be a great game, but ended up being really crappy. I mean, what are your initial thoughts coming off of that game specifically?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, you knew it was going to be a little different when Paul Skeens gave up 2 homers. That's just so unlike him. He hasn't done that all season, and he gave up 2 in one game to South Carolina. And obviously, on the first one, part of the reason that happened was because you had an error that put an extra guy on base, and so that's a run that he didn't earn, but it's points that were on the board that shouldn't be. And unfortunately, LSU has struggled some with fielding this weekend. And you're not going to be number 1 in fielding percentage after this weekend because you've had a rough weekend fielding wise. But they get an extra guy on. If you don't have that blunder, then it's only 1 home run. It's only 1 point that he gives up. And then obviously, I mean, it comes down to the weather delay.
Yep.
Because this game looks completely different whenever Paul Skeens is in the game. I wholeheartedly believe it would not even been it would not have been the game at all that it was on Thursday night if Paul Skeens is able to stay in that ball game and keep going. But because of the long delay, they had to pull him. Obviously, they pulled their starter as well. And, for game 1, I did find it rather odd that the first few guys you bring in for game 1 of the series is Dutton and Bucknam, Nate
Micah Bucknam.
Michael Bucknam, and Will Helmers. I found that rather odd, considering how massive game 1 was, and also considering that game 2 and game 3 were very, very iffy with the weather. I figured Jay would have probably done a lot more to try and win that game. And you're in a 3-1 ball game. It's close. And man, to put the guys out there that he did was very questionable for me. I think that's the biggest question mark of game 1. Like, why did we do that? I understand you want to save your arms for game 2 and game 3, but I mean, Jay knew what was coming with the weather. I mean, it's highly, highly unlikely that we even see a game 3. And like Jay knows that. So it was very interesting to me that despite knowing that he put in 3 guys that have hardly seen any SEC play, have almost no experience in SEC play this season. Really, really questionable, but I trust Jay. I trust Jay. I still wonder why. I would like to get an explanation on that. We haven't really. I mean, I understand why he won't want to hold his guys out, but I'm just like, but considering the weather, man, like, why didn't you try to go get that game? Like, it was a 3-1 ball game. You were in it. LSU scored 5 runs in that game, right? That was a big thing for me. It was just, and I'll say this too, Reagan, and I always hate doing this, but it seems like it's just been this year, Reagan. Like, for some reason this year, the strike zone has been all over the place, like in a lot of these series. And I'm not saying that just like it's been one-sided for LSU, because like for a lot of these SEC series, it's been really bad umpiring, period, for both teams. And it was the same way Thursday night, last night, and it was the same way today. Like, I just don't understand. I mean, last night, Trey Morgan got rung up twice on what should have been walks. Just completely just befuddling me, some of the pitches that these guys are calling balls and some of the pitches that they're calling strikes. Like, very, very inconsistent umpiring by the SEC all around. I'm not complaining just for LSU, but all around, just very questionable umpiring so far halfway through this season and into SEC play. Just really confusing to me why it's this bad. I don't remember it being this bad in years past, but man, it's been all over the place.
Yeah.
And that affected your game. I know it affected South Carolina's, but specifically last night, whenever LSU is in the situation that they're in and trying to claw their way back into the game. And look, I'll give it to South Carolina. Look, South Carolina, they hit on Skeens. I mean, was Skeens, was he like, getting dominated? No, by no means. But
he
they
still had 8 strikeouts.
He still had 8
innings.
strikeouts in the amount of time. Like, he wasn't getting dominated, but they hit his mistakes. They punished his mistakes, and
which they're known for.
They took opportunities. They took advantage of their opportunities. So, to be in that situation, and have the umpiring that we've had these last 2 games, and specifically Thursday night, it really, really hurts you being down and trying to catch up. Like, there's 2 instances where the umpires ended innings that were very promising for LSU. When Trey Morgan was up to bat, obviously you had Cruz about to come up. You had first and second, and he rings Trey Morgan up. He rings Trey Morgan, and that was the second strike. I mean, if he gets the call that he should have gotten, then it's bases juiced, 1 out for Dylan Cruz. And, there's no telling, what could happen. I know ultimately that Cruz ended up striking out the next at bat, but Trey getting on base completely changes his approach at the plate. So it was very frustrating to me having to watch that. Like, and then, to be honest, the commentators are straight garbage, man.
Really bad.
All, no disrespect, I guess disrespect, but I want to say no disrespect, but disrespect to South Carolina. Get you some better baseball. Like, I understand South Carolina baseball is not as big, over there as it is in Baton Rouge at LSU, but good grief, finding some better commentators. These guys are.
There were several times that it was like they were looking at like change up and they were calling it a fastball.
Yeah, and I'm like,
it was clear.
What are you? Like, it's like they hardly even know baseball, man.
Oh man!
And like, every time South Carolina hits like a pop fly, they're like, "Whoa!" Freaking out, losing their freaking mind. And then today, like Gavin, it was just all around. Today, Gavin Dugas hits one out, and it's just like, man, there's a high fly ball to outfield, and it's gone. Gavin Dugas, it's a grand. Like, dude, it's been miserable. And I know I'm speaking for a lot of LSU fans. It has been miserable to watch. The umpiring, the injuries,
pitching,
the rain, the commentators, South Carolina hitting dingers on you all like left and right last night. The bullpen absolutely crapping the bed last night. I mean, all of it, just miserable baseball to watch. But thank God we had today, and we had the 8th and the 9th inning.
No kidding.
Listen, I'm going to be honest. LSU has played bad baseball for the entirety of these series outside of Jordan Thompson, Kay Beloso here and there, and the eighth inning and the 9th inning of today's game. Like that, it's been bad. It's been bad. The bullpen has been really, really bad outside of a couple of guys. But it's just all around been a terrible weekend. And I say all that to say, to be able to be where you're at right now, where you're at 1-1 in the series, that's massive.
It's been your worst weekend.
It's been your worst weekend. Yeah. Everything's been miserable, from the commentating to the umpiring to the hitting to everything to the bullpen. Everything's been to the rain. Everything's been absolutely miserable. And you're sitting at where you're sitting at right now at 1-1. And I'll say this: I made a comment, I made a tweet, and I'm going to stand by it. I made a tweet today that raised some questions. I know me and Pooh Bear kind of went back and forth a little bit on it, not in a bad way, but I said, this team is not as good as we expected. And it's not, because, and I said, part of that is because of the injuries. The injuries, unfortunately, have led to this team not being as good as we expected them to be, because we expected this bullpen to be a lot better. We expected the starting pitching to be a lot better. And unfortunately, it hasn't been as good as we thought. Now, am I saying that this team is bad? No. Am I saying that this team has no shot at making it to Omaha? No. Am I saying that this team is, is not going to compete for a national championship? No. I'm saying that this team, because of injuries and because of other pitchers in the bullpen that are really struggling with command, are not as good as we thought they would be. The pitching. The hitting's there. We know about. I don't have to discuss that. I don't have to argue that. I don't have to debate that. I mean, we already know what the hitting is. Now they're gonna have days like they've had this weekend where they, and I mean, honestly, this weekend, I mean, they just put up 8 points, right? And last night they put up 5 points in a game where you really didn't feel like there was any offense at all, and you put up 5 points. The offense, I'm not as concerned about the offense. The pitching is very worrisome because of the injuries. Jaden Newt is out for the year with injury. Caleb Appleby is out of the year with injury. Grant Taylor is out for the year with injury. We're hearing potentially that Chase Shores might be out for the rest of the year with injury. Nate Ackenhausen is dealing with the hamstring injury. And then you had the injury today with Garrett Edwards.
Did not look good.
That did not look good. That did not look good. Now, you don't know what you're going to get out of Caleb Appleby, and you don't know what you're going to get out of Jaden Newt. But the 4 other guys, you know what you've gotten out of them.
And Grant Taylor.
And yeah, with Grant Taylor, Garrett Edwards, Nate Ackenhausen, and Chase Shores. Those guys have been really good. Really good. And Grant Taylor was poised to have a really, really – now, we don't know because he hasn't been in the season, but Grant Taylor was poised to have a very good year. He was poised to be a weekend starter. And that hurts, man. It hurts. You look back at some of these games like Game 3 versus Texas A&M. You look at Game 1 versus Arkansas. You look at Game 3 versus Tennessee. Those are games that you were in, but you let slip away because of the lack of pitching that you had. And so, yeah, this team is not as good as we thought it would be because of the pitching. But then you look at Gavin Guidry and Griffin Herring, and Bryce Collins had a good outing, right? Recently, has had a couple of good outings recently. The pieces are there to still put this together. I mean, with the pitching staff, and it's not an elite pitching staff. It's a good pitching staff with an elite pitcher. Paul Skeens is elite. Paul Skeens is a pro pitcher, and he's pitching on a good pitching staff. They're not great yet. I'll say that they're not great yet. They have the potential to be. Christian Little has the potential to really come along here in the second half of the season and be, a potential, closer, potential, starter if we need him because of all these injuries, potential, really good long relief guy. Thatcher Hurd has the tools to be a really good starter, right? Yeah. I mean, the tools are there. It's just a matter of LSU putting them together. And unfortunately, this weekend, the result that we have seen on the field has been because of a lack of those tools being put together on this pitching staff. And that's why you have what you have this weekend. Luckily, you have an LSU offense that has been led by veteran leadership that has kept you in this weekend series.
Yeah. So with the pitching, like – I mean, I got to agree with what you're saying, but in terms of the starting pitching, like, I think it's just because it's kind of piling on right now. Like, it feels like the last few weekends, it's been really piling on, but we know that guys like Ty Floyd can be that guy. I mean, he was that guy at the end of the year last year. I mean, he was your only trustworthy starter.
He's just not consistent right now.
If he can get to where he lands his breaking ball for a strike, for whatever reason, he cannot get it over for a strike right now. And when you're kind of a one-trick pony in the SEC, it's just not going to go. I mean, it's just not going to go. And he's been walking guys way too much, and that's due to the fact that he can't get swing and miss. He can't locate his breaking ball. Therefore, his fastball is not something that he can blow by someone because they know that he can't land his breaking ball. So it's tough, but I really think that Ty Floyd can get it together, and you can have two really solid starters.
Yeah.
What really worries me the most, which I need to say this, Zach, I think this still needs to be said. The staff is still better than it was last year. It's better than it was last year. You have more arms than you had last year. And by the end of the season, I think that will be very clear. But what has really concerned me is the fact that today Garrett Edwards held his elbow the way he did, and that pitch, it just did not look pretty.
Yeah,
That's huge. Like that's huge. That's going to be a real brutal loss. But the good thing is you also see Gavin Guidry come in a huge moment. I mean, not just the bottom of the ninth, but you bring him in the eighth, the bottom of the eighth, after you just tied it up. Like, you're trusting in a true freshman, Gavin Guidry, to go out there and put 2 zeros in an SEC series when, like we've been talking about, everything's gone completely to crap, it feels like. And you throw a true freshman out there against this South Carolina lineup, and he gets the job done. Like that, like, we cannot mistake how massive that was.
Yeah. You
I mean,
on a
that
day
is a
when you
moment,
lost your best reliever.
yes, that's a moment that Garrett Edwards has been called into. Like, that's a moment you bring your absolute best. And of course, with how things have transpired, you can't get your absolute best out there right now. And Gavin Guidry goes out there and deals. And his breaking ball was, I mean, I know you weren't watching it, but Zach, that breaking ball was landing
it's
for
nasty.
strikes.
I've watched it.
It was filthy. I mean, he was fooling pitchers. Their batters were off balanced. He was mixing his pitches. He had great velocity, great spin on his breaking ball. I mean, it's a big looping breaking ball that comes from the top of the zone and falls in. It's really good stuff for a true freshman. And if you're dealing with a lot of injuries, you're going to need that guy to pitch a lot more. And that was really promising. And you're right, Griffin Herring. I mean, geez, it's 2 outings now that has looked great. I mean, looked really great. I mean, he got into some jams today, but he worked himself out of it. So we'll keep our fingers crossed with Chase Shores and with Ty Floyd. I'm more concerned about Ty Floyd. Chase Shores, we don't really know. I think obviously Nate Ackenhausen will eventually be back. I mean, his is a hamstring.
And who knows? Maybe Javon Coleman can come around
Eventually
here in the next month or so.
And he's been throwing bullpen and whatnot, is what we've been hearing. So, look, the staff is deeper. It may not be, like you said, elite, and I agree with that. It's not elite. You do have one elite pitcher, but you can have more depth and more talent, especially in this pen, than you did last year, and that's going to benefit you in the long run. And I don't think we need to overlook that. I think in the moment we can look at this and be like, gosh, this is terrible. It's horrible. Everything's falling apart. This is nowhere near what we thought it would be. But we got to not overreact with how crappy everything has been also. I mean, it's been really crappy. So we can't fall into a pit and just be like, well, our pitching staff is just like crap. Like, we know that it can be a whole lot better than it is right now. And we know guys like Ty Floyd, Thatcher Hurd, guys that seem to be upcoming, Griffin Herring, Gavin Guidry, like, it can be a lot better in a few weeks. It's just been a bad weekend. I mean, weather delays really screwed you. And I mean, when something like that happens, which again, I do question the thought process of Jay, which I trust Sammy Dutton. Like, I really would have liked Sammy Dutton to come back out. I didn't understand. Like, Sammy comes in and put us up a 0. He struggled a little bit, but he put up a 0. And you go to Micah Bucknam. Like, Sammy had Sunday starting, experience in the SEC last year.
Yeah.
Like, he was your starter for a lot of Sundays. So he's got SEC experience. and he hasn't been bad. So why pull? That was my question. I didn't mind throwing Sammy out there because you're in a close game. If you save your arms for tomorrow and Sammy comes in and does better than what you expect him to do, and you steal game one after losing Paul Skeens, that would be huge.
Yeah.
But you got to leave Sammy in. Don't bring Micah Bucknam in, right? That's the one I question. That is that decision. And at that point, like once everything blew open, I mean, it was like just save your arms.
Save your arms.
Point. Yeah. So as crappy as it been, though, Zach, you are in the number 6 team country owned stadium,
which
and
play
you're 1-1.
Is complete garbage. 325 down the lines, 380 dead center.
Yeah,
what is this? A high school softball field? Like, no wonder you're leading the country in homers, bro. You're playing on a high school field.
Tennessee, South Carolina, like we need to get some minimums. We need to up the minimum on these baseball parks because 380 dead center, that's 25 feet shorter than our dead center. It's brutal.
No wonder they're leading the country in homers, bro. They just hit a long pop fly and it's gone.
Yeah, like Jordan Thompson sending like that. His 2 home runs have been like you look at them, they're like their bleachers are really high up, and it's like in the 3rd row, like very top. And I'm like, geez, that was a freaking nuke. And then I'm like, wait, that's probably like that's probably like middle row in Alex box. Like it's not the top. Like it ain't going out the park, that's for sure. So, anyways, it has been a bad series. Petrie is the real deal. That dude is serious. I mean, stupid talented. He should enter the portal and come to LSU. That's what I'm thinking.
What position does he play?
Right field.
Yeah, come on, bro.
Yeah. So it's been rough, but you're in it, and you can go take the series if you're able to. And look, if you're not able to finish the series because you have to get a game in tomorrow or the series is over, you split, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I am perfectly fine with that.
That's a win for LSU, honestly, considering the weekend they've had.
Honestly, going into the weekend, and I've told you this, Zach, when you go on the road in the SEC, especially when you're going to the number 6 team country, the number 6 team in the country, like get 2. Like I don't care if you sweep, just get 2. So if we get 2 tomorrow, if we win tomorrow, I'm elated.
Massive.
I mean, huge. Like a lot of people are upset that we haven't been sweeping. Guys,
you're playing
not that big a deal.
Schedule, by the way.
You're A&M, number 15 in the country, which they're unranked now, so obviously they were not as good. But you went to College Station. You captured 2. Arkansas's number 5 in the country. They're still very good. Tennessee's at the time was number 10 in the country, and you took 2 from them. And now you're facing number 6 in the country, South Carolina, at South Carolina. If you capture 2 out of 3 out of all of those, hey, I'm good. I'm good. I don't care what Vanderbilt's doing at 10-0. I don't care.
Yeah, beating teams like who they played.
Ole Miss, Mizzou is this weekend.
Not good.
I think maybe Georgia.
Not
was
good.
another one. Yeah, exactly. So I could care less. We're playing the best of the best in the SEC right now.
Yeah, the schedule has been – you're playing all of the best teams at the beginning, all of them.
So
Kentucky's next week.
They're number 10 in the country. So it don't get any better. This is the SEC grind, and you get 2 out of 3 every weekend. Man, if you go 20-10,
they played State too.
I'm good. If you get 20 out of 10, that's great. That's great SEC conference record. But look, this team's gonna sweep somebody. It's gonna sweep somebody. So don't worry about the 2 and 3s. Don't worry about the 2 and 3s. It's eventually gonna come. But I'm saying if it never does, it's okay. But so Zach, let's look a little bit at Game 3. We've kind of chit chatted enough about the first 2 games. I My biggest highlight though is Gavin Guidry by far of the series, by far.
The Gavins, bro. The Gavins. Gavin and
the
Gavin.
two Gavins. Obviously, I mean, golly, Gavin Dugas, what a story! Look, your Louisiana guys seem to step up to the plate all the time.
Hey, dude, and on a weekend where Tommy White hasn't been good. I mean, he had
Tommy's
he had
been
the
pretty
homer.
good. He's had 2 homers, so he's been pretty good.
Yeah, Dylan Cruz mainly.
Dylan Cruz hasn't had his weekend. No,
Dylan Cruz has not had a good weekend. Trey Morgan has had an okay weekend. He's gotten screwed by the umps already like 3 times this weekend. But like your veteran guys, like your 5th-year guys, Kay Beloso, Gavin Dugas, they've been, and then Jordan Thompson as well. They've been the guys that have been really, really stepping up. JT carried you in game 1, and he carried you at the beginning of game 2 with the 2-run shot he had, because he had a 2-run shot yesterday and today, correct?
Yeah. Love his bat celebration, by the way. Just dropping the bat. It's great.
Dude. That's
good stuff.
Dismount. I love it.
Stuff.
I love it, bro.
So game 3, Zach.
Go ahead. Your vets. I was just saying, it's been your vets. It's been your vets.
It has been, and you're still in it. And Dylan Cruz hasn't had a great week. I mean, that shows you just how good this team is. So game 3, pitching's a little thin. I mean, it's a little thin right now. Zach, I need to go look at that text. Jay Johnson, and this was as of today. Jay Johnson said Christian Little, Thatcher Hurd, Bryce Collins, Riley Cooper were available for the next game. 4 arms there, and that was in lieu of today, I think.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, obviously, if you get a game in, I think that opens up a little bit more for some guys. I think Griffin Herring's done for the week. He pitched a lot today. Obviously, I think that you could potentially bring Gavin Guidry back. He didn't even pitch 30 pitches today. He pitched the final 2 innings.
Yeah, you could bring him back,
I think since we're having one more day, instead of turning around and playing a game tonight, I think he maybe could give you an inning or 2.
And Dutton, right? Was Dutton mentioned in that?
Dutton, yes. I don't know why he didn't.
One inning.
He pitched 1 single inning on Thursday. He could definitely come back. So you have arms available, not your best. You need your offense to come alive. You really need your offense to come alive. Good thing is South Carolina is TBA. You've seen their best 2 starters. Which, by the way, Mahoney,
dude, that was awesome.
He said something a little too soon because next inning he got 2 bombs on him.
In the Christian translation, he said, "You can't mess with me." And then LSU came up and popped 2 dingers on him.
They messed with him a little bit
and sent him to the bench.
So game 3 tomorrow is TBA for South Carolina. As of right now, it's Christian Little for LSU, which I'm okay with. I think Christian Little has shown some flashes. We'll see how he handles this South Carolina. Yeah, I think he looked pretty solid Tuesday night. And look, you just got to go out there and you got to battle. I mean, that's what you did today. So that's what you're gonna have to do again. This lineup of South Carolina is no joke. I mean, it's the real deal. Really Karras and Wilmer, Karras and Petrie back, all 3 of them back in. That's murderer's row. That's what other teams are thinking when you got to face Gavin Dugas, Morgan, Cruz, White. Like they're that for us, and it's brutal. And so you got to go out there and you got to put up zeros on the board, which I think some of the, at their best. At their very best, Little, Hurd and Cooper, like that sounds really good. But do you get their best, or do you get recent Thatcher Hurd? Do you get recent Thatcher Hurd, Cooper, and Little? But at their best, like Thatcher Hurd and Cooper and Little are all guys competing for the weekend rotation. So if you get their best tomorrow, you like your chances.
Yes.
But if not, we'll see how it goes. I really don't know how. I don't know what to say about tomorrow's game if there
There
is a
probably
game.
won't be a game. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
This is
rain looks
probably
bad.
it looks
Yeah,
really bad. I don't really even know why I think they just threw out that time because that was their original planned time
yeah, probably.
before they went to the doubleheader, and so I think they said, "Hey, let's go with the scheduled time that we had on originally before
Yeah.
we rescheduled."
We'll
So
just see how it goes. That's
yeah,
kind of
and they're probably also doing that so they can give some time to say, okay, we're gonna push back an hour, we're gonna push, and then
yeah.
eventually the pushback keeps happening. Because man, it's gonna pour
I
tomorrow.
wonder
It's like
what tomorrow evening looks like. What tomorrow
I think
evening
it's
looks
gonna
like.
be the same. Let's
Like, because
man,
it's raining from like now through the entire day. Like maybe in the evening time tomorrow, maybe you could get something. I don't know though.
doubtful. Doubtful. Let's see. I'm looking at now. Yeah, it's just rain for forever, pretty
For
much.
forever.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll have to see how it goes tomorrow. Maybe the good Lord will, I don't know, push them north, push them. Yeah, probably based on the radar I'm looking. Maybe it'll stay north of Columbia, and maybe you'll get a little window to capture a game.
We need a strong wind to just push it north.
Yeah, yeah. So as of right now, though, it looks doubtful. And if it doesn't happen, you split the series in an away series against the number 6 team in the country. Which, by the way, a lot of people are like, "We're the number 1 team in the country, and we're out here, blah blah blah, with South Carolina." Like, it just isn't like that in baseball. Like,
Correct.
you go to the number 6 team in the country, and you go to their house. I don't care what you're ranked; it's going to be stupid hard. And it's like that in the SEC every weekend. All right, Zach, I think we need to hit a quick break and come back and discuss briefly the basketball news, transfers out and in, because we need to wrap the show up here in about 5 minutes or so. So let's hit a quick break, and then we'll come back, maybe look at a few comments and discuss the basketball transfers before we wrap the show up. 5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at One Nation Doty. Don't forget to check out his Facebook page for all his Saints and LSU merchandise. Can't get any better than Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Her firm focuses on the needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity throughout the process. Here for you, here for your family. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. All right, Zach, do we have any comments we need to address? I do want to address Adam B's.
Yeah, we had a couple of
last
comments. Adam, I highlighted a couple of them. Adam B said our base running and lack of attempts of advancing the runners have been abysmal.
There hasn't been many opportunities to advance runners in this series.
Not in this series, but last series, I think is what he's referring to, which, you won 2 or 3. I'll say this, Reagan, man, it seems like
Yep.
It seems like they, if they get a guy on second and they have no outs, they're not moving him over. But if they get a guy on second with 2 outs, bro, he's coming around. Dude, it's like every time we got 0 outs and we hit a double, or whatever, we get a guy on second, no outs, we can't get him in for the life of us. But if we struck out swinging or struck out looking the first 2 guys and the next guy hits a single and then a wild pitch gets a second, you better believe a homer or a single or double is coming. Like that's been LSU. It's been hilarious. Peyton said Jay gave game 1 away and he has made his bed now. Got to lay in it with playing offense over defense. If the offense doesn't go, which there will be games, it won't. We will suffer. You got to get the bullpen together, honestly.
I don't know. There's one position I'll agree with you on, Peyton, on the field. Other than that, the defense, I haven't. I don't. I mean, I know it's been a little bit rough this weekend, but I don't have any complaints about the defense. But your latest comment, Adam B and Peyton, their latest comments.
All right, let's look at it. Peyton said,
I
"I'm
was
not
literally
shocked by
about
the
to get that.
homers of Skeens. It was coming as hard as he throws, plus a small bar. Yeah, I mean that's the small ballpark. Probably a couple of those that they hit. Are probably fly balls in Alex box. Probably not. I don't think the second one was, but
I don't think Petrie's would have been. Petrie's
would have been gone. But I can't remember who hit the other one. I think that one kind of like squeaked over.
I think it was the one after Petrie. They went back
into the one that went in the right field bullpen.
Yeah.
And it barely. Yeah, that probably would have stayed in.
Brewer.
Yeah. Allie Boy is joining us. Allie Boy, good to have you in here, bro. You said we're spitting facts. Nothing but facts here. We're just perfect. No, I'm just kidding. Adam B said the Jones and Brady Neal at bats kill our momentum most of the time.
This is I've got to agree with this. And go ahead and pop up Peyton's comment to
I don't know. I don't know about Brady. I would disagree with Brady Neal. I think Brady Neal has had some really, really good at bats as a freshman. Like he's taken some. Now
he has, but it's not enough.
This weekend, no. But and he's also got the pop. I know you lost the game, but he put you in the game against Arkansas.
He did. It's just not enough.
And he hit one off Dolander.
I don't think it's enough.
Peyton said if we play Milazzo, should definitely be in the lineup.
Yeah.
Too many strikeouts from Neal.
I have to agree with them.
Jones, yes.
Neal, Jones, no. Oh, come on, Zach. Jones is batting like 330 something with 9 home runs. Come on.
I'm saying the strikeouts. I'm not saying whether or not he needs
Neal
to be.
Been striking out a whole lot lately.
So has Jones.
I'm pretty but Neal's batting 215, 3 home runs. If you're batting 336 with 9 home runs, I can deal with the strikeouts.
That's completely fair. I'm just saying, if you're striking out a lot, if we're going to talk about just striking out a lot, Jones.
Well, we're not. That's my point, though. It's not just about the strikeouts. With Brady Neal, I think his defense is good, but it ain't as good. Brady Neal's defense ain't near as good as Milazzo's, and I don't think his bat is good enough to keep him in the lineup over what Milazzo brings. And Milazzo ain't been bad at the plate, folks. He's hitting
393.
Like, I know he may not hit it out like Brady will. Brady will hit it out every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't think it's enough to keep Milazzo. I really think Milazzo should start.
So just to discuss that very quickly, Alex Milazzo is hitting 393 currently. It is a small,
it's a
small sample size. And again, I know I argued that with Kay Beloso, but I mean he's hitting 393 right now. So, I don't disagree. I don't disagree there. He's only struck out 6 times. Jared Jones leads the team in strikeouts. He has
no doubt.
38 strikeouts. Yeah. And the next closest is Brady Neal with 27.
Yeah, it's too many for a guy like Milazzo to be sitting on your bench. It's way too many. Milazzo is an elite defender. I mean, how many times do we say when Milazzo's out there, don't run on Milazzo? Like the ability to block pitches, the ability to throw guys out, I think tops what Brady Neal can do at the plate. Milazzo really ain't like Milazzo's going to do just as good as what Brady Neal's doing at the plate, but he's a better defender.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Tate said, and he can bunt. Which is very true.
I don't understand keeping Milazzo out when Brady has been number one, like you said, he's number 2 on the team in strikeouts. But also, the dude should be a senior in high school. I'm not knocking him for his age, but let the dude grow and mature a little bit under Milazzo. Put Milazzo, the vet, in. Let him go out there and do what he does behind the plate. And every now and then, Milazzo's going to get you something. Right now, Neal is a freshman that looks solid behind the plate. and can do some good things at the offense behind the plate. And when he's up to bat, he can do some good things. But Milazzo brings so much defensively. I just don't think it's enough. He needs to start. I really don't know what the infatuation with Brady Neal is to continue to start him over Milazzo. But Milazzo is good enough. He should be in the lineup. He should be in the lineup.
Maybe we see a change tomorrow. We will see.
Okay, briefly, Zach, the basketball transfers, we need to get to it.
Well, I'll say this one thing, and then let's move on. The biggest reason I believe that Brady Neal is getting put over Milazzo right now is because he's left, and I think that's the reason. I understand.
Yeah.
I completely understand everything you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I'm saying because he's a lefty, that's probably why he's in the lineup, because you're going to face a lot of righties. And then, when you face the lefties, I would like to see more of Milazzo though when there's lefties. When you're going to face a lefty, put Milazzo in.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, even if they're facing a righty, he deserves a look. I said the same thing about Kay Beloso, and I stood by it. And so if I'm going to say the same thing about Kay Beloso, I need to say the same thing about Alex Milazzo. He has proven that he can hit the ball. He did it on Tuesday night. He's proven that he can move runners over, which Adam B has mentioned and we have mentioned has been a struggle. Give him a shot.
Absolutely. But no, look, Neal has a bright future, a super bright future. But let Milazzo have his year. Because I'm pretty sure this is it for him. Maybe.
Probably.
But let him have it. It's his. I don't feel like he should have lost it. All right, Zach, basketball real quick.
Yep.
You've had a lot go out, and I don't think it's a bad thing. After this season, you need to purge a little bit. You need to reevaluate. And look, Matt McMahon, I think, is doing that. Some more news in that front. Adam Miller has announced today he's transferring. So as of right now, Zach, that's 7 guys from this team that is either declared for the draft or is transferring, and only one of them is declared for the draft. Cornelius Williams is gone. Both the justices are transferring out. That's 3. Kendall Coleman is transferring. That's 4. Adam Miller, that's 5. He's transferring. And what's the other one? Oh man,
Williams going to the draft.
Yep. Man, I'm drawing a blank on it. The 2 Justice Hill, Justice Williams, Kendall Coleman's transferring.
I did not know Justice
Williams. Sean Phillips.
Yeah, he announced. Yeah,
and then KJ's going to the draft. So that's 7 guys. I really would have liked Sean Phillips to stay. That's one that out of all of those, Adam Miller, even some will be like, really, you're upset? Sean Phillips is leaving, but not Adam Miller. Yes, I think Sean Phillips had some great upside as a freshman, and he showed some flashes as a freshman. He looked good at times, and his size is undeniable. I would have liked for him to stay. Sucks to see him.
He won you the first game.
Right. So I would have liked to see him stay, but it is what it is. You need to clean house. That's the news on the front of guys going out. Guys coming in, local Louisiana guys. Matt McMahon's kind of taking a page out of Brian Kelly's book, going to get some not grad transfers, but guys who are Jordan Wright is a grad transfer.
Jordan Wright is a grad.
But Jalen Cook going into his senior season, guys who wanted to play at LSU growing up. Jalen Cook did play at LSU, but transferred out with a crowded room at the time with Will Wade. Jalen Cook, by the way, went over to Tulane and has had some great success. And people are knocking him for the talent where he played. Guys, he was playing Houston and Memphis. Houston was number 1 in the country for a long time this year, and he hung 23 on Houston and 17, I believe, won as well.
Yeah.
So good on him for Matt McMahon getting Jordan Wright, getting Jalen Cook. You're in the running for Denver Jones, his final 6 transfer at FIU, who averaged over 20 points this year. And you're in the final 5 for BJ Mack, who averaged 16 points, 5 rebounds at Woolford. He is a big Denver Jones is a guard. So Matt McMahon's hitting the portal. He's hitting it hard in a lot of running. Zach, what's the news on the girls' front?
So obviously we know that we have the three girls that are going to be leaving the program because of declaring for the WNBA draft. Jasmine Carson announced that, I believe it was yesterday. Obviously, Ladazia Williams and Alexis Morris announced that not long after the national championship win.
Right.
But that leaves us with the question, okay, those are the ones going out. Haven't heard anything of any of LSU players that are leaving the program, not yet at least.
Why would they?
I don't expect we will see anybody leave the program. We might if it, depending on what happens with players coming in, because if you have really good, talented girls coming in, which is going to be the case, you're going to have really good, talented transfer portal players that want to come in because of winning the national championship. That want to play for Kim Mulkey. There may be some that leave because of a crowded room or not being able to get playing time. So, here's the two biggest ones that I've seen so far. India Rogers, who is a guard from Oregon, really good, one of their main players, best friends with Angel Reese, and has been spotted hanging out with Angel Reese a lot here recently.
Okay.
She just recently entered the transfer portal, and she's hanging out with Angel Reese a lot. Also, we have Ashley Awasu. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Ashley Awasu is another guard that is really – I don't know if you've seen her highlights, Reagan, but she is a baller, bro. She's got handle.
Yeah, Big Ten, all team.
She's really good.
2-3 years in a row.
She can shoot, and her ability to pass the ball is just insane. She played at Maryland, which is where Angel Reese, obviously came from. So those are the two right now that, are two names to definitely look for with women's college basketball to potentially make their way over to Baton Rouge and join Kim Mulkey and the Fighting Tigers, the national champions. So we'll see. Maybe more names pop up. Obviously, you have a big freshman class coming in, number one class in the nation coming in. So Kim Mulkey is loading up. They're reloaded, and they're going to be ready to compete again next year. And as I've said, and as we've said on here, they very likely will be better next year.
Yeah. All right, Zach, I think we need to hit one final break, and we'll come back and we'll wrap the show up right after this. Make sure you go follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Tigers Avenue, for daily updates on the show and all things LSU sports. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to click off and hit that subscribe button at Tigers Avenue. We broadcast all of our shows live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. All right, guys, appreciate y'all joining in for this show tonight. Although it's been a miserable weekend in terms of LSU baseball, they're still in it. And you can go out and win this series tomorrow if they're able to. Maybe the rain will hold off for us. So maybe you can turn this into a great weekend and go capture another top 10 victory on the road in the SEC. Would be absolutely massive after what seems like two brutal games, and one of them you pulled out from the jaws of defeat. Maybe they can do that tomorrow. We sure hope they do. We'll see if the game actually gets played. One final thing, guys, happy Easter. We wish you a happy Easter. As a pastor, obviously, I want all of you to go to church this Sunday, be involved, go hear the gospel, go hear what Christ has done for you. I encourage all of you to do that. And man, if you're in Jonesboro, Arkansas, you can pull up to Valley View Baptist Church and you can come listen to me preach. We'd love to have you. But I know obviously a lot of y'all probably are not. But go to church, go hear what Christ has done for you this Sunday. Go celebrate the resurrected King. So happy Easter to all of you guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time here in the Tigers Avenue. Five Star Hero, take us out. Peace.